21. Give them space to fall. The pursuer is pursued. If your targets become too used to you as the aggressor, they will give less of their own energy and the tension will slacken. You need to wake them up, turn the tables. Once they are under your spell, take a step back and they will start to come after you. Begin with a touch of aloofness, an unexpected non-appearance, a hint that you are growing bored. Stir the pot by seeming interested in someone else. Make none of this explicit. Let them only sense it, and their imagination will do the rest, creating the doubt you desire. Soon they will want to possess you physically, and restraint will go out the window. The goal is to have them fall into your arms of their own will. Create the illusion that the seducer is being seduced. Since humans are naturally obstinate and willful creatures and prone to suspicions of people's motives, it is only natural in the course of any seduction that in some ways your target will resist you. Seductions then are rarely easy or without setbacks. But once your victims overcome some of their doubts and begin to fall under your spell, they will reach a point where they start to let go. They may sense that you are leading them along, but they are enjoying it. No one likes things to be complicated and difficult, and your target will expect the conclusion to come quickly. That is the point, however, where you must train yourself to hold back. Deliver the pleasurable climax they are so greedily awaiting, succumb to the natural tendency to bring the seduction to a rapid end, and you will have missed an opportunity to ratchet up the tension, to make the affair more heated. After all, you don't want a passive little victim to toy with. You want the seduced to engage their will in all its force, to become active participants in the seduction. You want them to pursue you, hopelessly ensnaring themselves in your web in the process. The only way to accomplish this is to take a step back and make them anxious. You have strategically retreated before, but this is different. The target is falling for you now, and your retreat will lead to panicky thoughts. You are losing interest. It is somehow my fault. Perhaps it's something I have done. Rather than think you are rejecting them on your own, your targets will want to make this interpretation, since if the cause of the problem is something they have done, they have the power to win you back by changing their behavior. If you are simply rejecting them, on the other hand, they have no control. People always want to preserve hope. Now they will come to you, turn aggressive, thinking that will do the trick. They'll raise the erotic temperature. Understand, a person's willpower is directly linked to their libido, their erotic desire. When your victims are passively waiting for you, their erotic level is low. When they turn pursuer, getting involved in the process, brimming with tension and anxiety, the temperature is raised, so raise it as high as you can. When you withdraw, make it subtle. You are instilling unease. Your coldness or distance should dawn on your targets when they are alone, in the form of a poisonous doubt creeping into their mind. Their paranoia will become self-generating. Your subtle step back will make them want to possess you, so they will willingly advance into your arms without being pushed. This is different from the strategy in which you are inflicting deep wounds, creating a pattern of pain and pleasure. There, the goal is to make your victims weak and dependent. Here, it is to make them active and aggressive. Which strategy you prefer to use, the two cannot be combined, depends on what you want and the proclivities of your victim. Each gender has its own seductive lures which come naturally to them. When you seem interested in someone but do not respond sexually, it's disturbing and presents a challenge. They will find a way to seduce you. To produce this effect, first reveal an interest in your targets through letters or subtle insinuation. But when you are in their presence, assume a kind of sexless neutrality. Be friendly, even warm, but no more. You are pushing them into arming themselves with the seductive charms that are natural to their sex, exactly what you want. In the latter stages of the seduction, let your targets feel that you are becoming interested in another person. This is another form of taking a step back. When Napoleon Bonaparte first met the young widow Josephine de Beauharnais in 1795, He was excited by her exotic beauty and the looks she gave him. He began to attend her weekly soirees, and, to his delight, she would ignore the other men and remain at his side, listening to him so attentively. He found himself falling in love with Josephine, and had every reason to believe she felt the same. Then, at one soiree, she was friendly and attentive as usual, except that she was equally friendly to another man there, a former aristocrat, like Josephine, the kind of man that Napoleon could never compete with when it came to manners and wit. Doubts and jealousies began to stir within. As a military man, he knew the value of going on the offensive, and after a few weeks of a swift and aggressive campaign, he had her all to himself, eventually marrying her. Of course, Josephine, a clever seductress, had set it all up. She didn't say she was interested in another man, but his mere presence at her house, a look here and there, subtle gestures, made it seem that way. There is no more powerful way to hint that you are losing your desire. Make your interest in another too obvious, though, and it could backfire. This isn't the situation in which you want to seem cruel. Doubt and anxiety are the effects you are after. Make your possible interest in another barely perceptible to the naked eye. Once someone has fallen for you, any physical absence will create unease. You are literally creating space. Your absences at this latter point of the seduction should seem at least somewhat justified. You are insinuating not a blatant brush-off, but a slight doubt. Perhaps you could have found some reason to stay. Perhaps you are losing interest. Perhaps there is someone else. In your absence, their appreciation of you will grow. They will forget your faults, forgive your sins. The moment you return, they will chase after you as you desire. It will be as if you had come back from the dead. According to the psychologist Theodore Reich, we learn to love only through rejection. As infants, we are showered with love by our mother. We know nothing else. But when we get a little older, we begin to sense that her love is not unconditional. If we don't behave, if we don't please her, she can withdraw it. The idea that she'll withdraw her affection fills us with anxiety, and at first, with anger. We will show her. We will throw a tantrum. But that never works, and we slowly realize that the only way to keep her from rejecting us again is to imitate her, to be as loving, kind, and affectionate as she is. This will bond her to us in the deepest way. The pattern is ingrained in us for the rest of our lives. By experiencing a rejection or a coldness, we learn to court and pursue, to love. Recreate this primal pattern in your seduction. First, shower your targets with affection. They won't be sure where this is coming from, but it's a delightful feeling, and they'll never want to lose it. When it does go away in your strategic step back, they'll have moments of anxiety and anger, perhaps throwing a tantrum, and then the same childlike reaction. The only way to win you back, to have you for sure, will be to reverse the pattern, to imitate you, to be the affectionate, giving one. It is the terror of rejection that turns the tables. This pattern will often repeat itself naturally in an affair or relationship. One person goes cold, the other pursues, then goes cold in turn, making the first person the pursuer, and on and on. As a seducer, do not leave this to chance. Make it happen. You are teaching the other person to become a seducer, just as the mother, in her own way, taught the child to return her love by turning her back. For your own sake, learn to relish this reversal of roles. Don't merely play at being the pursued, but enjoy it. Give in to it. The pleasure of being pursued by your victim can often surpass the thrill of the hunt.